back to my channel. Yes, today is Wednesday, and we all know what that is. We're back to it again. Spooky animation, haha. But let's start with greetings before we get too much. Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm your host, your
guy in the chair.
And yes, today for spooky animation, we have the Keep. Not very interesting, but we'll see what it's about. So sit back and enjoy. So enjoy.
My name is Jayesh. I'm from Mumbai, India. This story is from the monsoon season of the year 2019. I had just completed my college courses and planned to spend the rest of the vacation at my native village. My village is situated in the western coastal region of India known as Konkan. My family owns an ancestral house there, though we live far away in the city. We visit that house only on occasions like festivals. This time, I wasn't accompanied by my parents since they were busy with their work. I was joined by my college friends, Rahul, Bren, and Payel. My parents reluctantly agreed to allow me to travel and stay there when I promised that I wouldn't mess things up and reasoned that I was grown up, plus accompanied by friends. After a full day's journey via train, we finally reached the destination. We were picked up by Uncle Datta, who was our house caretaker. My father had called him 2 days earlier and told him to prepare everything for our stay. We arrived at the house by evening, and we were already tired at that point due to the long trip. We were invited to have dinner at my uncle's place, so we went with him there. After having dinner, we stayed for a while talking and didn't realize that it was already 12 at night. My friends and I were ready to head back, but Uncle requested us to stay at his place for the night since it was already too late to head back. And also, the new moon, meaning no moon, would be visible in the night sky. Uncle Datta said that it's dangerous to go outside as many animals and other things come out in the dark. I reluctantly agreed to stay there, so he prepared us mattresses on the floor to sleep. It was a comforting cool temperature, so I immediately fell asleep. But around 1 a.m., I woke up startled by the creaking sound of a door being opened. I saw Uncle heading outside with a torch in his hand and a shawl covered around his body. He closed the door slowly from outside so that nobody would wake up. I thought he went to the toilet, which was next to the house. I remained awake and waited for him to return. The room was silent other than the steady ticking of the clock, and mostly dim due to the low lamplight. Half an hour later, Uncle still didn't come back through the door. Something is wrong, I thought to myself. My friends were deep asleep. I felt that waking them up would make everyone panic. So I quietly turned to Bren, who was sleeping just next to me. I moved over next to him and called him in a low tone. Bren, wake up. Bren was still in his dreams, so I shook him a little and slightly more loudly said, wake up, something is wrong. Bren immediately opened his eyes in response and turned towards me. I put a finger on my lips and said, shh, don't be loud or else you will wake the others up. Something is wrong. Uncle has not returned yet. It's been an hour now. Bren spoke clearly, still half asleep. He must have something important, so he went outside. But what important work does he have to do at midnight? I said with a worried tone. Without saying anything else, I slowly stood up and headed for the door. Bren sat up and was watching me, looking confused about what I was doing. I grabbed a flashlight on the table next to the door and slowly cracked the door. There was a creaking noise from the old hinges, but no one else woke up from it. I went outside, and even though I was wearing a hoodie, the air felt frigid and sent a chill down my spine. I turned on the flashlight and began looking around for Uncle. I walked over to the toilet and searched inside and outside, but nobody was there. The environment outside was completely dark and cold, with the sounds of crickets and frogs filling in the silence. After searching around the house, I found no sign of him anywhere. I don't know how I dared to venture further out, because the surroundings were dense trees and bushes that are home to many wild and deadly animals. But I decided to keep looking for him. I was walking slowly and carefully, looking and listening and moving my flashlight around to check my surroundings properly. Soon, I reached the rice fields owned by our family, since I thought Uncle might be there. As the tall grass covered most of my lower body, I took every step carefully, aiming my flashlight at the ground to avoid stepping on something that could be dangerous. When I reached the middle of the field, I called out, Uncle, are you there? Turning a different direction each time. I called loudly 2 times, but there was no answer. But suddenly, I froze and stood there still after I noticed that the sounds of the crickets and amphibians had suddenly stopped, and there was a complete, dead silence. That usually means a predator or some animal was around. I heard the rustling in the grass and movements around the field. I moved my flashlight in the direction the sound came. I saw grass rustling. Then I did a dumb thing. I picked up a stone and threw it in the direction the sound was coming from. When the stone hit the ground, the rustling grass stopped. I went closer to inspect and check if I might have killed or injured that animal or something. But out of nowhere, a wild boar rushed towards me and tackled me to the ground. It was an ambush, and I fell for it. I couldn't fight since I was unarmed, holding just a flashlight in my hand. It looked very dangerous, and I was scared for my life. Its impenetrable black skin covered with hair, its sharp tusks ready to rip skin and flesh, the saliva dripping from its mouth, and the deadly gaze of its yellow eyes, which I could see with the glow of the flashlight. I sat up but remained frozen and scared from the shock. I had never encountered such a huge animal in my life. Even when my parents warned me not to mess with the boars, it seems as though the boar was angry at me because I hit it with the stone. When I tried to get up, the boar screeched loudly, which literally shook my eardrums. But then I suddenly heard the sound of a hand drum coming from somewhere, and it was getting louder, like it was moving towards me. The hand drums were instruments used by the villagers to scare away boars and birds from the fields. The wild boar took a step back and then ran off. I was drenched in sweat and I was about to pee my pants, but let out a sigh of relief when the boar was out of sight. I made it up onto my feet and turned around to see a dark figure standing at some distance. The figure was wearing a shawl around its body, holding a hand drum in its hand and a lamp in the other. I thought it was my uncle, so I ran towards him, but slowed to a stop as I got closer. I looked again, and that person was not my uncle. What am I seeing? I thought. The figure was at least 7 feet tall and wearing a brown shawl covering its body and head. Its hands were muscular and completely pale and gray. Instead of having a face, it was covered with darkness and had 2 shiny blue dots glowing in the place of eyes. I paused for a moment and was astonished, yet scared. I began to slowly walk backwards, but then the figure spoke in a deep and echoing voice. Go back. I fell unconscious on the spot. The next morning when I came to, I was at Uncle's house and surrounded by my friends, my uncle, and the doctor. Before I could say something, Uncle informed me that he found me lying unconscious outside of the fields by a villager. They knew I was missing and everyone was searching for me. I explained to Uncle that I left the house in search of him and told him about my near-death encounter with the boar and meeting that mysterious tall figure. My uncle then told my friends and I that the figure that I encountered was a keeper. He told us that the keepers are the guardian entities which protect the fields from unwanted presences and wild animals and bless the fields with fertility and fortune. In exchange for the protection of the keepers, we break a coconut outside the fields on every new moon night as an offering to them. My uncle went on to tell us that he went to the fields that night to perform the offering. After listening to this, my friends and I were in total shock over whether to believe this or not. But what I encountered that night made me a believer. I realized that there are many entities out there, and some come with a motive to destroy, and some to protect.
Yeah, this is game protect. Hey guys, yeah, that was pretty creepy. But I would say that spirit or whatever it was came to protect time leave this place. Okay, don't tell me twice. But he passed that. But still. If you're gonna go out in the world and do stuff, don't be afraid for everything. Yeah, they got freaky stuff, but some things are just stories. But others are some truths to it, so be careful. And you're not go alone. But I hope y'all liked it. You want to see more, you like my take on things. Don't forget to like it, comment down below, share, and then subscribe. And hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video. And enjoy your day. Bye.